We were seeing a trend in the DeFi space where we were seeing the verticalization of blockchains. And we just kind of took a step back and said, what do we really want from a DeFi chain? And
so moving a little to Uniswap and the fee switch, what was your reaction when that happened?
I think it's almost a sign of DeFi maturing. We need to make DeFi and DeFi protocols and the businesses that are built on top of DeFi protocols sustainable businesses that generate revenue, not just for the users that are providing liquidity, but also for the token holders.
Do you think there are any possible risks or unintended consequences?
I mean,
my name is Valdrin Tahiri and I'm an analyst at CCN. And today with us, we have Justin Havins, which is the head of DeFi at Katana. How are you, Justin? Thanks for doing the interview with us.
Hey, yeah, great to be here. Excited to be here. And just a quick clarification, I'm a DeFi ecosystem lead at Katana, which is different from the head of DeFi.
Okay, yeah, my bad.
But yeah, really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's just start with an introduction. So for people that are new to Katana, how would you describe what it does and the problem that you're solving in DeFi today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think the best way to start that is to discuss the origin story of Katana a little bit. I worked at Polygon Labs for 3.5 years before joining Katana. And then prior to that, I worked for a DeFi DAO on Ethereum. And then prior to that, I was working in the traditional banking space for about 13 years. Credit analyst, financial analyst, commercial lender, things on that side of the banking world. And so the way Katana really came about was we were seeing a trend in the DeFi space where, or just in the crypto space in general, where we were seeing the verticalization of blockchains. And what that means is, you were seeing blockchains specifically for payments or blockchain specifically for RWAs or gaming. And then you started to see DeFi chains start to pop up. And so as a heavy DeFi user, and I got to discuss with other heavy DeFi users at Polygon and other DeFi builders in the ecosystem that we're very close with. And we just kind of took a step back and said, what do we really want from a DeFi chain? And the two things that we really came away with was, we want high sustainable yields and we want deep liquidity to allow for efficient transactions and resiliency in the network. And so we just said, okay, let's take a step back and let's re-architecture, just architecture the chain based, maximizing for those two things, high yield and deep liquidity. And what we began to see was a lot of mechanisms within the crypto and DeFi space that were what we would say net extractive to users and builders in the ecosystem. And so what we sought was, ways to take those extractive mechanisms in DeFi ecosystems and reroute them back into the ecosystem for DeFi users. And so through that, we basically have 4 different revenue streams that we at the foundation level use to increase the yield that users get on the blockchain. So one of those is Vault Bridge, which takes bridged assets on Ethereum and deploys them into low-risk DeFi strategies to generate yield, which boosts yield on Katana DeFi pools on the L2. We have, sequencer fees. All layer 2s have sequencer fees. We route that back to users in the form of deeper liquidity or higher yields for the pools that they're participating in. We also have AUSD, that is a stable coin on Katana that is backed by off-chain US treasuries. The yield from those off-chain US treasuries goes to the Katana Foundation, which is then used to increase the yield on DeFi pools on Katana. And then Katana also has this concept of chain-owned liquidity, which if you're familiar with protocol-owned liquidity on the app level, it's just it's a bucket of assets that the Katana Foundation manages. And that also earns yield. And that yield either goes to compounding more chain-owned liquidity, or it goes to, again, further increasing the yields for DeFi users. So, we're very strong and very mission-oriented on this being a DeFi chain and providing the best user experience, and we believe the best user experience is to have high, predictable, sustainable yields by leveraging these mechanisms that I described, and then also just a UX thing as well. We have our own app, app.katana.network, where we really want that to be the one-stop shop where the DeFi dashboard that you wake up every morning and that's the first app that you open to check your positions, see how much you've earned overnight. And so we're really all about maximizing the DeFi user experience, sustainable yields, and deep liquidity through all those mechanisms.
Thanks a lot for the detailed answer. And just like a follow-up on that, so you said that Katana focuses mostly on like vault-based activity-driven yield. Do you think that is the way to go in DeFi? And if yes, why?
Yeah, I think we've also seen a very big that's a good point. We are very a vault-centric chain in the sense that from a few different perspectives. One, we've got Vault Bridge, right? So assets in the bridge, when you're bridging from Ethereum to Katana, those assets go into what we call the Vault Bridge, which deploys those assets into low-risk yield-earning strategies on Ethereum, which then boosts the yield on for DeFi pools in the L2, which I mentioned earlier. And then we also have vaults on the layer 2 as well. Through Morpho, we've got Morpho vaults, and then we also have Yearn vaults as well. And I think there's a really big trend in the DeFi space right now with these ERC 4626 vaults that's really becoming a standard for it for the type of products that DeFi builders are creating. It creates a pretty simple user experience for the user, and it can provide a lot of benefits for builders and users together. Where on the Morpho side, if you're a Morpho vault curator, and you're curating these strategies, you do earn a portion of the fee of those strategies, and then if you're the user, you're getting the majority of the rate of return on there as well. And so it's a little bit more of a passive way. There are risks involved, obviously. So you still need to do your own research and understand the underlying strategies that are taking place in the vaults, and understand the reputation and strategies that the vault risk curators are going to implement. But I think this vault architecture it's almost similar to the type of funds that you would see in more traditional publicly traded markets, with a little bit more optionality and flexibility. So yeah, I think this is the future, and it's yielded quite a lot of benefits for the Katana ecosystem. Because if you look at Vault Bridge, it's generated about $400,000 of revenue for the chain every month since inception, and that $400,000 goes to boosting the yield in the DeFi pools with actual yield, not just cat emissions, which is token emissions, which is a big trend in the space and has been for quite some time. So if you're depositing into a Morpho pool, thanks to Vault Bridge, not only are you earning the native rate in that Morpho pool, but you're also earning bonus like USDC from the revenue generated from Vault Bridge and those other revenue sources. So we do see, I see a vault-driven architecture for the future of DeFi as a huge possibility, and I think we're just kind of early to it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay, so moving a little to Uniswap and the fee switch, since that was the main thing that happened sort of the last month. What was your reaction when that happened? Do you think it was a overdue thing, or maybe the timing surprised you, or do you think it was like right on time?
The timing did not really surprise me, I guess. I haven't thought about that specifically, but yeah, I think was it overdue? Yes. Were there reasons why it cannot be implemented or executed? Also, yes. I think it's almost a sign of DeFi maturing in a sense that we're moving we need to make DeFi and DeFi protocols and the businesses that are built on top of DeFi protocols sustainable businesses that generate revenue, not just for the users that are providing liquidity, but also for the token holders. If you really want to have long-term success and viability in this space, this is what you need to do. And I think there was a lot of legal uncertainty, and maybe a little bit adversarial actions from U.S. government entities that was preventing something like this from happening sooner. But now we're in an environment where DeFi protocols can actually experiment a little bit more with the tokenomics of their protocol and experiment a little bit more with what does ownership of a portion of revenues look like for a DeFi protocol. And I really think the Uniswap fee switch was just really the first step in maybe just like the first domino in a long line of dominoes that are going to fall to see similar proposals and token designs that follow this, really. This is something that has been talked about for a very long time. For years, people have talked about activating the fee switch on Uniswap, and I think it's a very exciting time for the DeFi industry as a whole to see this, because they are the number one decentralized exchange, in the crypto space, and for them to activate that fee switch is really a sign that this is the direction that the DeFi space is moving to.
Awesome. Okay, so you said that you think this is a sign that the DeFi ecosystem is maturing, but do you think there are any possible risks or unintended consequences from the fee switch? Maybe things like governance challenges or maybe reduced liquidity?
I mean, I don't. Yeah. So once you now have access to revenue, I think people start acting will start acting in a different way. Because you just thinking about game theory and the whole, the famous quote of "You show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome." I think that people will definitely get a little bit more political from a governance standpoint on which pools the fee is activated on, what is the percentage of the fee that goes from those pools to token holders. There's a lot that could go on there. I don't really see it as a risk necessarily. I think it'll generate a lot of healthy conversation about, once a fee switch like this is activated for a very successful DeFi chain, what do we do with those revenues, and how much of those revenues can be extracted out of those protocols for the token holders and still maintain growth. Because one of the biggest things right now is, if you have this fee, you're either taking it away, like where does this revenue come from? I guess is the question, right? You can either increase the fee that a user pays to implement a swap, in which they might not be getting the best price, in which they would go elsewhere, or you take a portion of the fees that are generated from the liquidity providers, which is what's happening here, and will that incentivize liquidity providers to go to move their assets to a decentralized exchange that doesn't have that fee extraction mechanism. I think it'll be really interesting to see where it plays out, but I also feel like Uniswap has such a huge moat that I don't think we'll run into any of the issues that I mentioned right there. But yeah, I'll just go back to what I said at the beginning. I don't see any risks with this necessarily, outside of like any potential future, I guess, regulatory risks that are unforeseen. But I think it's just a very exciting time. It's going to generate a lot of unique conversation, both on the governance side and just on Twitter and in the public forum, and something that I'll be paying a lot of attention to.
Awesome. And okay, so maybe to connect it with you guys at Katana. So are you guys sort of analyzing or looking at their new revenue flows and comparing them to the old ones to maybe design new ways to allocate vault capital or strategies? Or are you not focusing that much on what will happen to Uniswap after the fee switch?
So, I mean, we do have our own token, the CAT token, and it it can generate revenue for stakers of the CAT token, but not in a way that I think maybe is direct. Similar to the way Uniswap is. So what we have with the CAT token is we have a VE33 tokenomics model. That's a tokenomics model that's similar to what Solidly, Airdrome, Veridrome, and Curve have. Varying degrees, they're all a little bit different. And the way that we do it is, you can take your CAT, you can stake it for VCAT. That gives you voting power on where future CAT emissions go within the Katana ecosystem. We're going to be starting with SushiSwap, where users can direct CAT emissions to specific pools on SushiSwap, and then we'll be expanding to Morpho, Spectra, Kinsei, any app within the Katana ecosystem. And the benefit there is that users, I should say, VCAT voters, they will earn a portion of the fees generated by that pool if they voted for that pool. And so you kind of have this incentive alignment there. Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. I thought you said something. Yeah. And so the way that's different from other VE33 tokenomics models is other tokenomics models like that are really just for that specific application, right? With Airdrome, you can only vote on Airdrome pools, which makes sense. Same thing with Velodrome and Curve and Solidly. With Katana, since this is a chain token, you can vote for any pool within the Katana DeFi ecosystem. And I think that's going to provide some very unique incentive structures. There's also the concept of protocol vote incentives, where if let's say there's a new DeFi project that spins up and they want CAT token to be allocated to one of their pools to help bootstrap growth, they can actually pay voters to vote for their pools. So not only do users, VCAT voters, get a portion of the fees generated by that pool, but they also get incentivized to vote from that specific protocol potentially. And there's also a third revenue source with VCAT voters, where if you unstake your VCAT for CAT, you have to pay an exit fee, and that fee goes to VCAT holders. So we do think a whole lot about the tokenomics of CAT in VCAT. We believe in DeFi so deeply that our chain's token is a DeFi token. And anything that we do on chain or any of the initiatives that we have, we want to make sure that they're DeFi focused and flywheel aligned. And we do feel like we've got a really unique flywheel that benefits builders, users, everyone that uses the chain. And we just want to make sure we maintain and strengthen that over time.
Awesome. But just a follow-up question, because I'm not sure if I understood that correctly. So you said that it is possible to sort of pay voters to vote for the pool of your choosing, right? For large stakers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that's present in other VE tokenomics models as well, getting those types of vote incentives.
Do you think that sort of creates an issue where, let's say, really large stakers can in a way monopolize the winning pools, because obviously there are a lot more resources than the others, so they can just incentivize smaller voters to vote in the pool of their choosing, or no?
So it's not necessarily the. Okay, I see what you're saying. And so if you think about it this way, a pool is only going to earn, X amount of revenue over a period of time. And so there's a little bit of game theory to this as well, where if everybody is voting for the same pool, that kind of diminishes the returns that you would get over that, because voting emissions to a pool does not guarantee activity on that pool necessarily. It will help and encourage activity on that pool, but it doesn't guarantee it. So it's if you are a very large VCAT staker, it's in your best interest really to kind of spread your votes out a little bit to diversify. And yeah, there's protocol vote incentives, right? So, but if a project says, hey, we've got $1,000 that we want to give to VCAT voters to vote for our pool, if one person votes for that pool, then they're getting the $1,000. If 1,000 people vote for that pool, they get $1 each, right? So there is a little bit of game theory there that kind of evens out that type of monopolistic behavior that you're mentioning.
So looking ahead 2 or 3 years, what does a mature DeFi ecosystem look like to you? And where do you think Katana fits in there?
2 to 3 years in the crypto space is a pretty long time. But, we at Katana do believe that DeFi has matured to a point where it can be considered core architecture or core infrastructure in the architecture of a blockchain. That's why we do have core apps like Morpho and Sushi and Kensei. There will be a Perpstex that will be onboarding as a core app in the future. And, these core apps, this is where all of the Vault Bridge revenue is going to boost yield on pools. It's where all the chain on liquidity is going to maintain kind of a baseline liquidity layer. And yeah, I mean, Katana is completely open source and permissionless, and anyone can deploy any type of project they want to, no matter what it is. And we encourage people to do that. But when it comes to the Vault Bridge yield and other revenue that's generated by the chain and chain on liquidity, that's going to go to the core apps. And that's part of our core app philosophy, to keep liquidity very deep and increase the user experience and decrease the guesswork that users have. So we're open source permissionless, but we're also opinionated in that sense. And we're also opinionated on the yield opportunities that we're surfacing in the Katana app, which is on app.katana.network. And so I do see a future where chains start to see DeFi apps as infrastructure in a way that's similar to the way Katana is doing it. I think we're early in doing it this way. There are others that have tried similar things, but that they have not done it in a way to where the economics are aligned for the builders and the users and the chain operators together. But in 2 to 3 years, it's really hard to stay. I think we're going to have a lot more institutional adoption. I think we're going to have a lot more companies that do have digital asset treasuries that will be using it in DeFi to earn additional yield. So yeah, I guess that's my answer. That we'll really start to see them less as apps, see DeFi as less as apps and more as just like core infrastructure for blockchains.
Thanks a lot, Justin, for being here with us. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
All right, yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time.